All right, here we are.
Hello.
A little bit late, but as I announced on my LinkedIn, I needed a triple extra large cup of coffee to get through this episode because we
It's
have
gonna
a
be a
lot
long
of
one.
we have a lot of stuff to go through today. So Daniel, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. It's been a long week.
Yeah,
Kind of tired from this month. A lot of things to cover. A lot of events that have happened. How about you, man? You doing well?
yeah, good. It's
Cool, cool.
as you said, it was a pretty hefty month.
Yeah, it really was.
And we have a long or big number of topics to go through.
A lot of fun ones too. I think the audience is generally gonna like some of the topics we covered this week,
Oh yeah.
this month.
Well, we liked it for sure.
Yeah.
So
Speaking of other topics people liked, I guess I'm jumping ahead here.
yeah. Hold on. First, we go to the
Hey, man.
content. So today we're gonna talk about the Ukraine-Russia cyber conflict. Yeah, continuing talking about it. It's now 3 months in, a little bit over 3 months that the war started. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of development in the last month. We're gonna zoom in on a new automated bot or botnet, let's say, from the IT Army of Ukraine. We're going to talk about Disbalancer Liberator, another tool associated with the IT Army of Ukraine. We don't know if they're the same, working closely together or not, but IT Army has their own tools. Disbalancer is another tool. It's like a crowdsourced botnet, let's say. Then we're going to talk about the other side of the conflict in Russia, where we have Killnet. Going to zoom into Killnet. Who are they? Where do they come from? What are the tools they're using? Some drama between Killnet and Anonymous, the cyber war inside the cyber war, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
The attacks that Killnet did recently on governments in Italy, the attempt of an attack on Eurovision as well. Then we're gonna go through more DDoS attacks, some large DDoS attacks that happened, not only related to the cyber conflict. There's also, well, besides the cyber conflict was just an add-on on existing attack campaigns. So the general attacks are still happening. Gonna do an update on the botnet landscape. Gonna go through raids and arrests. Daniel's favorite part of every threat researcher's life. Then we're gonna talk about some legalities. The NSA that did some announcement. And then also supply chain attacks to end up, and the last one in supply chain attack is actually kind of funny one. Not gonna give any hints yet, but you have to stick around until then. I don't know how long it will be, 1 hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. The
Maybe
last one
three.
was pretty long, right? And the last one we
Yeah.
we went above 1 hour and a half, so plenty of things to discuss and content to bring. But Daniel, now go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to set there real quick that a few weeks ago I was over in Eugene, Oregon. I gave a presentation. DDoS is DDoS a crime? It's something that we've talked about on a few TRLs here. Yes.
Oh,
Unfortunately, it's a green
Daniel.
background, so
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't want to worry you, but there's a hole in your chest.
I know it's cool. You can see right through me. You can see my soul. Anyways, there's a very cool little T-shirt. It's a raccoon that's DDoSing Russia. I thought it was kind of funny, so I definitely had to get this shirt. But they're gonna have another round of Exploitcon over in Portland on June 16th. If you want a ticket to watch the live stream for free, use that code right there, and you can check out all the presentations that they have.
Oh, so
Definitely
we
a cool
have a
con to check
giveaway
out.
today. We're giving away
Yeah.
free codes. Good.
Yeah, just don't tell Exploitcon I posted this. Just kidding. No. Hey, it wouldn't be Exploitcon without exploit, right?
Was
Yeah, and then I guess
that, that is the partner VIP code, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. If you want a taxi trip for free from the airport to the event and back.
And then was it next month? We also have a webinar that Pascal and I are doing. There's going to be 2 times for 2 different time zones, June 9th and June 10th. If you want to see this webinar, you can go ahead and register at Bright Talk, but we'll be discussing crisis and escalation threat landscape, some of the topics that we've talked about in TRL, some of them that we haven't. It's a pretty interesting conversation in general, though.
Yeah, summarized. into a smaller format. A little bit.
You won't need Red Bull for it.
Okay, and all the links are down below, of course, as usual. And all the references, everything that we're talking about, all the links, I already submitted them. So if you go look down there under the video, you should be able to find them. Or in the description, it's not always down. Sometimes it's on the side. Okay, enough marketing. Yeah, onto the legal part.
Yeah, we have too many requirements now at the beginning of our presentations. We have to do pitches of where we're speaking, and also we have to say, hey, don't try this at home.
Yeah. Okay, like Daniel said, don't try this at home.
We are professionals.
Yeah.
So the first topic I wanted to talk about was an alert that came out from the Ukrainian CERT division. This one was about a malicious script called BrownFlood. Don't know why they chose BrownFlood. Very interesting name, but anyways, it's a very common tactic that we've seen across the Russian-Ukrainian conflict. This is basically a malicious user that is injecting malicious code into what is commonly known as WordPress sites, or what is commonly a WordPress site. And those WordPress sites are utilizing the resources of the servers to launch attacks against hard-coded sites that we see over here. Really short, nothing really too deep to get into. It's, as I said, something that we've covered on a few TRLs here. It's a very common tactic seen by both sides, but they are taking advantage of outdated, vulnerable WordPress instances to be able to do this.
Yeah, we spoke about this on the last episode as well. Some websites that were not hacked, but actually specifically built with JavaScript in there. When you go to the website, it started attacking, and it was like a game, so gamifying the attacks, where when you play the game, you actually got those messages that say, congratulations, you now took down Domino's Pizzas, or whatever website they were targeting. So those were specific websites built with the JavaScript in there, not hacked websites. But then there was also the story of compromised WordPress sites. And then there's also the story of honeypot Docker containers that were hacked and that were leveraged for attacks. So yeah, there's quite some activity going on in that area as well.
You know, it's kind of interesting watching the whole thing happen too. I mean, what we've seen for the last few years is like very low level vulnerabilities or hacks are actually now being leveraged in a very high level way to attack another country, which is kind of interesting. You know, I kind of like draw a line back to, was it the CoinHive campaign? Remember, like a few years ago, where you just go to a website and start harvesting and mining coins. It's kind of the same thing. You know, when the users go to these websites, nothing really has to be done specifically on this one with BrownFlood. They just go to the website, and the resources of your computer are leveraged to actually launch attacks, which is kind of sad. But yay for the threat landscape.
which brings us to another tool. Liberator. So the tool is called Liberator, and it's from a company called Disbalancer. And the idea behind Liberator is that anyone can download that application, install it on their Windows, Mac, or Linux, run that application, and it runs in the background. And while it's running in the background, it will connect to a command and control server, get a list of websites to attack, and then we'll start performing attacks on those websites. Now, Disbalancer was known before, so this company existed before the war. They just moved their agent towards a DDoS attack tool, but before the war, they were actually trying to bootstrap a new token campaign that was using computers around the world for DDoS mitigation. So the idea was that the agent gets installed. So people download the agent, you install it on your Windows, and your access and bandwidth will be used whenever there's a company under attack. They will buy tokens from Disbalancer, and when you mitigate some part of the traffic of the attack, so traffic will be redirected through your machine, you will do the scrubbing of the traffic, and the clean traffic goes to the company, the other traffic is dropped. So you become part of a DDoS mitigation cloud, let's say a distributed DDoS mitigation plan. I think, yeah, I'm actually running ahead. So this is the idea. So you see that you have user nodes that are getting the traffic that comes in whenever there's a company under attack. Traffic is redirected through those user nodes, and they are scrubbing the traffic so that the company is protected from DDoS attacks, from large-scale DDoS attacks that are global. So, and the company will, of course, have tokens, and then will reward the users that are taking part of their traffic with a certain amount of tokens. So that's how they see a distributed DDoS mitigation system. It never worked as far as I know, or it was never commercialized. So they went straight into repurposing their agents to
You tell me they pivoted?
yeah, they pivoted, yeah. Let's say repackaged or repurposed their agent.
So we went from mitigating to launching attacks.
Yeah,
to make sure I'm following along.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's called a 180, right?
Mm-hmm. Find that every successful company is a hard 180 pivot, right?
Yeah. Well, you have to go where the business is, right?
Follow the money.
Yeah. So Liberator doesn't work with tokens anymore, so you don't get anything for running Liberator except for knowing that you're helping
Well, bragging
Ukraine.
rights. You can get on social media and be like, "Hey, look at me! I'm DDoSing Russia."
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's just admit to a crime.
Yeah.
So hang on crimes and do that.
So when you download this Disbalancer, you get a client when you start it. It downloads a list of servers, and then it will start attacking different websites. You can see that here he's starting several threads to start HTTP floods. And on the top here, this image, you can see that it's starting floods towards several sites. Let me put the deck a little bit bigger. So it's 3 websites that it was attacking at that moment with 32 threads each. And when you stop it, then at the end you can see how many web requests you did, how many responses you got. If you were using proxies, because it supports proxies, but they do recommend that you use a VPN before you use that tool. Remember, we always say it, is DDoS a crime or not? Well, if it wasn't a crime, why would you need a VPN? But still, you need a VPN. That's at least a recommendation. You don't need it, but it's a recommendation. Now, looking into that client, so the client was improved quite from way back, because when it started, Avast did an article on it, and it uploaded like personal identifying information from your machine in clear text. Well, at least now everything is encrypted. There's no more clear text going up. However, if you run one of the commands like strings on the binary, you can see that it was built in Go. Good choice, I would say, if you want to have a good performant tool that has what they call green threads or Go coroutines that are performing lots of attacks, lightweight on the machine. But you can also see the libraries that they're using. And one of the libraries there is machine ID. So that creates a unique machine ID, or can uniquely identify the machine where you're running from each time that you connect to that network. So pay attention to that. If the war ever balances and you have that system still there and they use it for bad, people will be able to track down which attacks you were doing. So just be warned about it. There's a machine ID in there that does it.
Yay! Now I get to talk
Yeah.
about the fun stuff here. So if y'all have been following some of the things I've said or the presentation, DDoS is a crime, you know, at the end of the day, that DDoS is definitely a crime. And here we have Boxmining, a influential YouTuber that decided that it was a genius idea to call for his subscribers to, quote, join the cyber war against Russia to stop Russian propaganda machine, which is kind of interesting because this kid is claiming that the DDoS attacks are non-lethal ways to stop Russian propaganda. And he says all kinds of other things, such as stop the spread of false propaganda, which I have to say, if you're DDoSing a pharmacy, I don't know how you're stopping propaganda, but they sure seem to have justified their cause here.
Who says that they're attacking pharmacies or other websites? Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Continue, Daniel.
Yeah, we'll come back to that in a second. But it's kind of interesting. If you watch this video, This kid even says that there is nothing related to anything malicious that's being done on your app. But goes on to say that rather because of the actions of what the bot will do, it will attack Russia. So yeah, it will be flagged. This kid's an idiot. Like, I'm sorry to say it, but he is an idiot. He's emotionally compromised. He's an uneducated influencer that's literally asking over 250,000 viewers on YouTube
I
to
am searching
download
my
this
bleep
tool.
button.
Yeah,
I
sorry.
need to beep out that word because if he's listening to us, he will not be happy. He has much more
Oh,
subscribers than we do, by the way. He's pretty popular,
I
you know.
I want to talk to this kid. I really do. I really want to know like why he thinks it's a smart
Oh
idea to
yeah,
go
yeah,
against
but his
Americans to launch it.
but his so box mining. The name tells it a little bit. It's mining. He's
Yeah.
into crypto and tokens and talks a lot about. So he's an influencer on cryptos and
Oh, he's a
tokens.
Web 3.0
So
guy. Yeah, of
yeah,
course he's uneducated and speaking. You know, the
that
tough part about this is this
that
kid
wasn't my
through this whole
point.
entire. Yeah, I'm sorry, I took it away from you. You know, the tough part about this is this kid literally is telling people how to bypass your security mechanisms on your own personal machine,
Yeah,
so you can download this tool and launch
install
malicious
malware.
and
Yeah.
criminal attacks
Yeah.
against Russia.
You,
And while
you
you're
you
in the
have to
United
stop your
States,
antivirus, he says, because otherwise it will be
yeah,
detected as a virus. But it's not a virus. I checked it with the developers, he said, because yeah, he's into that token, so of course he knows Disbalancer from before because they had that token scheme set up for working with DDoS mitigation. So he knows the developers and he trusts them when they say, no, this is perfectly normal. You just disable our antivirus, you install it, and yeah, all will be good.
just insane. This kid is asking people to commit a crime, and
Yeah.
he has no ability to educate the users on what kind of crime they're committing and why you might be arrested. And as you might be a US citizen downloading this tool, the feds might not come get you because you're not committing a crime in the United States and you're not affecting anybody and you're not pissing off a DA here, so they're not going to come get you. But you are actually launching an attack. As we said, these packets are going across multiple networks, different transit providers. And if you ever in the future want to travel to any of these countries, if you want to travel to Eastern Europe and you're part of the IT army or you've downloaded Disbalancer Liberator, you might have a very hard time crossing those countries and you might not come back. They might arrest you and charge you. There's many members from LulzSec that have actually gone to jail, serve their sentence in their country, but do not leave their country because if they leave that country and go to another one, say like the United Kingdom, the United States, they'll be retried here. So it's just really sad to see someone with so many viewers educating them how to do something that is malicious and a crime. And this is kind of something that we're stepping into a weird world here where we have like these influential hackers. You know, at one point in time, Anonymous was an influential hacker, but now you have like normal people like Grimes and Boxmining sitting on YouTube saying how cool it is to DDoS and how easy it is to do without even a second consideration about a crime they're committing. And like we said earlier, they claim that they're trying to stop Russian propaganda, but they're
Yeah.
attacking pharmacies and food delivery services, which dude, I don't know how you say that, you know, a
They
pharmacy is pushing propaganda. I mean,
and
unless they're
they are
pushing fake
proud of it.
pills. They're very proud of it. And
Yeah,
even everybody in the United
the
States that's emotionally compromised is like, oh my gosh, I downloaded this tool to launch this attack. And it's like, okay, that's great. You're doing something, but like, do you understand that you're committing a crime in the process? You know, the way I look at it is, I guess this is kind of a bad analogy, is that, you know, you see a criminal and you want to stop a criminal, but you can't like really get involved, right? So like the same thing is like you see a crime happening in a conflict, you want to get involved, but you really shouldn't. It's not your fight. It's not your problem to get involved with, and you're taking on more legal risks by doing it.
yeah, and that this is actually from the Liberator website itself, and the link is down below. You can go check it. They put up a report with the statistics from February 24. So that's basically when the war started until a couple of days ago. So 3 months in of DDoS attacks. And you can see where they say the six main DDoS attack vectors. And so, sorry, yeah, this is a translation. I don't know if it was an image or a translated page, but that's not a DDoS attack vector that's below. Those are the industries that they're attacking. And the top number one industry with 38% of attacks are not government, are not propaganda. They're not Russian attack or underground websites. Those are vital resources used by common people in Russia. So that's the top websites that Liberator is attacking. Then second is infrastructural services, and then only on the third place you have the propaganda and media outlets. So what Boxminer was saying helps stop the propaganda. Well, actually, only 1/5 of the attacks will help stop the propaganda. More than
To be
1/3
fair,
of the attacks will go to impact vital resources where innocent people of Russia depend on. I mean, the people who didn't want this war. I'm not saying that they're, well, whatever.
right. Well, I mean, yeah, there's
I
people
don't
that
want
don't
to say
agree
the
with it.
wrong words.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, I just find it the interesting thing about this is the IT Army is really pushing this, or it's IT Army and the Liberator group. Let's just be honest, both of them are pushing this. What's attack Russian propaganda sites?
Yeah.
And I just want people to understand, like, this is a propaganda machine telling you to attack a propaganda machine. This is a psyop. This is exactly a textbook event like this. You have one group that is telling you that you should be emotionally compromised, you should be overstimulated, and you should be empowered by social justice movements to launch these attacks. And they're telling you you're launching an attack against a propaganda infrastructure, but it only kind of, what was it, 22% propaganda media outlets.
Yeah.
So like less than 25% of the targets are actual propaganda. The other 75% questionable, right?
Yeah,
It's just that you really need to kind of take the information from both sides in a situation like this and not be so quick to jump into the situation thinking that you are fighting an evil doer when in reality you've just been manipulated into fighting for another side and attacking their resources, which I said, food delivery services and pharmacies. I hope you have a fun time sleeping at night for launching those attacks.
yeah, but bottom line, don't take away the vodka from the Russians, okay? We will come back to that. So that was Disbalancer. So that's like a group that was referenced on the IT Army of Ukraine's Telegram website as one of the tools to use to perform attacks. But IT Army of Ukraine also has their own website where they're publishing tools and methods to perform DDoS attacks, and those are all based on open source. So Disbalancer is closed source, to be clear. There's no open source in that. It's completely closed source. It's a binary that you download. It's an agent. The command and control is owned by the people from Disbalancer. All the communications are encrypted. And they own also the list of servers that you are attacking. Now, the IT Army of Ukraine also has tools, but they are based in open source tools. So one of the problems that they saw with their tools and the methods that they were publishing, the methods were, okay, go and download this script, take a free tier on Azure or Google or Amazon Cloud and run this script from there, or go to Google Docs, and in Google Docs you can run that script, and then yeah, Google saw that. Google closed that hole because yeah, cloud providers are not happy that people are using their free tiers, their free resources for demonstration and for education that they give away to people to perform DDoS attacks from their clouds. So they came up with a new idea, still based on cloud, of course, but their biggest problem was actually that those attacks were random. And as you know, if you randomize a lot of different attacks across time, well, there's specifically no impact. The impact from an attack comes that many requests come at the same time. If they're all distributed in time, it doesn't impact the website. It just loads it a little bit more than it's supposed to be, but that's it. So they wanted their attacks to be much more synchronized. So what they did is they built a new, what they call automation bot. It's like a botnet that aims to solve this problem. So what you need to do is just install that bot, and then there will be, and that's what they call the coolest thing. So the coolest thing is that the attack will be run by their admins asynchronously. So you no longer need to do attacks yourself. They will start the attacks from your machine using their command and control server. And the command and control server is Telegram, actually. So what they have this Telegram channel, GovDDoS RU bot. So government DDoS Russian bot. Okay. So that's probably the first government operated DDoS botnet that I see.
Wait. We had Russia with the
Well,
the Katana.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean publicly operated.
That's okay. Yeah, opens. Yeah.
Oh, and hi, by the way, Nexus. Nexus says hi in the chat.
What up, Nexus?
So you go to this Telegram channel, and through that Telegram channel, you can actually register your machine as becoming a bot. So you download a binary, or better, download some script, you install it. And then the only thing that you need to upload is an alias, like a server name, your username, your IP address. Username, by default, it's root. So you could give root. And then the password. That's all. And then they will secure shell in. So you need to enable secure shell because they will secure shell in with root and password onto your machine. And they will control your machine that way. So that's actually the ask to install it. So you see the down in the right corner. Let me make it a little bit bigger. In the right corner down there, there's an example of a configuration file that you get when you register your machine. So that's where you get you put your password in, your IP address, and then you have a unique ID for your machine, and then that machine will be controlled by that Telegram bot. That machine actually, what the tool that it runs for attacks is a modified version of MHDDoS. It's a popular DDoS script. It's a Python-based script on GitHub. They've taken that code, they modified it to be able to attach a list of different proxies. They also modified it to be able to give it a list of targets to attack. And they package that in a Docker container. So actually what this bot looks like, or this agent that you're downloading, is just a Docker machine that runs that script. And then the IT army, so it connects to that Telegram channel, and then through that Telegram channel it gets its commands. And each time there's an attack going on, when an administrator feeds a new attack to your bot, you will get a Telegram message saying that you are attacking this and this and this website. So great for OPSEC, I think. Having that on your phone. So looking into that script, that modified MHDDoS script, some of the modifications that they made is, like I said, is to add proxies, and they also have 4 URLs where they download a list from proxies from. In the URL it says scraped, so it's just from different sources they scraped a free list of proxy addresses. And those proxy addresses are encoded. Of course, yeah, it's pretty easy. So if you take the script and you go through the code, I'm not gonna explain how I did it, but it's fairly easy to decrypt it. Now, the encryption is obfuscated in 4 or 5 different phases, but you don't need to do the deobfuscation. You just inject your own script in there to capture the data, and that's it. It works very well. So I downloaded the list of proxies, and there's about 800 open and free HTTP and SOCKS 4 and 5 proxies in that list that are being used to perform attacks. So as you know, when you do HTTP attacks, there's no way of spoofing your source. Yeah. So the only way to anonymize your attack, or to randomize, because if you always attack from the same source IP, DDoS mitigation says, oh, this IP address is making 100 connections per minute. I'm gonna block it because that's not normal. So that's easy to detect. So the idea is you randomize your source IP so it looks like all different hosts making HTTP connections. The way that you do that is by using proxies. Has been used before. Maris rings a bell, most probably. A couple of million of requests per second. We'll come back also later in the story, the requests per second. So proxies is a great tool for that. And SOCKS proxy provide a network, so layer 4 connectivity, where you can tunnel pretty much any traffic. HTTP proxies, of course, are limited to HTTP. And then also there's, in the same configuration file, it's config.py, there's also the IT army config URL, and that contains the list of targets. So there you have like 180 Russian websites. Mostly banks, actually. So you can
they're not
go.
propaganda sites?
Well, yeah, they're actually maybe I found 1 or 2 when I was browsing. So there are a couple of them, but most of them are actually financial institutions and banks. I did not see food or pharmacy. I checked for pizza. I did not find pizza. So Domino's Pizza is out of the list yet. But yeah, so you can go find it yourself. The link is down below for the GitHub. Look in the configuration file. You will find the link, and you can see the the list of websites that are being attacked. That list is updated regularly, of course. Now, looking at some of the proxies, and as I said, those are scraped from the internet from free lists. It's not a pay. You can also pay for proxy services. There's plenty of legal and less legal proxy services. And of course, when you want a good proxy, what's the best proxy? If you want to hide, for example, a bot that is scraping information, or you want to do some you want more viewers on your YouTube channel. I want to use an army of bots to do that. Well, they need to come from what? Not from cloud servers. Real users that surf from home and that are watching YouTube videos or that are going to a website are surfing from home, not from a data center. So as a bot manager, you already know when they come from Amazon, something's fishy here. That's not normal. A user doesn't sit in Amazon. A user comes from home. So what do those proxy providers do? They try to find domestic routers. And there's one Markov router that has been in the press a couple of times. It's MikroTik, right? Also with Meris. Lots of MikroTik routers were hacked in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, was that when this big vulnerability was. And those passwords were leaked on the internet. And even though that they're fixed now, the passwords are still out there and are still being abused. And MikroTik has a feature where you can enable a SOX proxy. So when I looked through the list, I just went randomly through 3 IPs, and 2 of the 3 were actually MikroTik routers, both located in China. Coincidence or not, but I did not really focus my attention on the IP addresses, so it was more bad luck or random, or it's just the whole list is like that. I need to go through the whole list to be sure. One was DigitalOcean server, by the way.
Never ending, always a rabbit hole to jump down.
Yeah.
One of the other things that
Yeah, you go ahead. You saw it yesterday on their website, so.
Oh yeah, I was gonna steal it from you anyways. The other day when we were actually putting the slide deck presentation, I noticed something at the very bottom of the IT Army's website that I hadn't noticed before, and it was a advertisement for their partner stressor services, IPStress, which is interesting because now going back, and I've actually found in a few of our presentations that we talked about, specifically when talking about booters and stressor services that were on Google, this one actually ranks #1 for booter stressor services on Google, which it's a very popular service, and it's so popular that the owners behind it actually put out a press release a few years, or was it? Yeah, about a year ago. They put out a press release for this service,
Yeah.
which was kind of rare. Like at this point in time, we had never seen anybody actually going like full marketing and full advertisement of stressor services. At that point in time, before that, you normally had like hacktivist groups that would like launch attacks against PSN or Xbox, and then they would use that as a way to advertise their stressor service. But now this one is obviously being advertised to the IT Army and also doing their own personal PR campaigns of advertising their services.
Yeah, it brings back the vibe of DDoS is not a crime, right? You just go to Google, you type in stressor, you get like advertisements for stressors, you get stressor services doing PR articles and announcements to the press. Come on.
Well, I mean, Nexus is actually really right. Like, there's some like vibes going on here, really, really strong. I mean, through the whole IT Army and everything, it's a hive mindset. That is for sure. They're leveraging everybody's resources, and if they're not actually launching attacks, they're using them to spread information and propaganda, which it's kind of interesting. In my opinion, at least, IT Army has learned from the failures and mistakes of Anonymous and have implemented in a very serious way. But one of the more major attacks the IT Army pulled off this month
I told you, don't take away their vodka. They did it.
Oh, they did. They
Why?
did. I mean,
It's unacceptable to me.
This propaganda machine.
Take it easy.
We're gonna have some issues here.
Yeah.
Anyways, the evil propagandist vodka supplier. I'm sorry, I can't even. The IT
Take another
Army
vodka
targeted,
Red Bull. Cool down. Yeah.
I know, really. The IT Army targeted a Russian federal state-owned automated system for tracking and distributing the production of alcohol, which was kind of interesting because when the attack happened, customers, stores, and distributors couldn't actually receive liquor, and factories couldn't accept like the tanks of alcohol to make all their different types of liquor, which I guess if you're in Russia, this is a really big situation if you can't get alcohol. But I find it a little cheeky and a little funny of the IT army to actually to do this type of attack. You know, I give them a hard time, right? Like everybody can defend themselves, of course, but this is kind of funny. It made me laugh at least.
Yeah.
This so much not really too funny, but
Balancing to the other side, because we are not here to choose a side or to break down whatever good
hey, I'm
campaigns
here to
or
allow
DDoS attacks.
everybody to defend themselves.
Yeah.
And try to educate people that are not supposed to be involved in the conflict not to get involved. It's all risk analysis, right? Like, you know, if you're in the United States, you probably don't need to be DDoSing anybody over there. But anyways, on Victory Day, which is the day of victory over the Nazis in Europe, reference to World War II here.
Okay, my bleep button, where is it?
Oh, no, it's fine. So anyways, there's actually a lot of DDoS attacks that had happened during Victory Day. The Russians in Killnet had launched several attacks against Ukraine. Ukraine had launched several attacks against Russia. But this is kind of interesting. It gets into how DDoS is actually used tactically in a war. Russia attacked the hackers, ended up launching a massive DDoS attack against the Ukrainian telecommunication operators. Now, what had ended up happening is as Russian troops were moving in different regions, DDoS attacks were launched against regional providers as a way to drop the internet. And what ended up happening is these internets start dropping and these network providers start dropping. There was a telecommunication provider in Ukraine that actually switched over to a Russian telecommunication provider to continue providing services to the locals in the region. One of the reasons why I wanted to bring this, and one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this up was about the last guy that we had talked about. I think it was in the last TRL about a citizen in Kiev that was arrested for launching DDoS attacks against Russia. He was part of the IT army, and what ended up happening is that the internet telecommunication providers that switched Russia was able to identify where these attacks were coming from, when to go pick them up, put him in jail. He's over in Siberia for launching these attacks. So this is kind of a dangerous situation. You know, if you're a citizen in a region anywhere in the world and there's an attack underway, not only could you lose your internet connectivity, but the network provider might actually switch over to another telecommunication provider that could put you at risk. It's kind of an interesting situation to see this unfolding.
It actually makes sense that they switch it over to Russian telcos, because it's in occupied territory. So that means that Russia is providing at that moment the telecommunication services. So yeah, packets are being routed to Russia. You don't even have to see it as a spy mission to try to redirect traffic. It's just that they occupy that area. They just replace the routers with their own routers, and they put the traffic through Russia. So if you sit in occupied region, not a good idea to perform a DDoS attack on the one that is occupying you, because he will see the packets go through his network. He will be able to find you, and that's what happened to that one person that was arrested.
It's kind of a sad situation to see, but I mean, we are seeing the first cyber war. I know people really hate saying this word and they don't really hate getting into it, but we are seeing real cause and effect, and we're seeing real gameplay when it comes down to how the cyber war will play out in the war arena. You know, as I say all the time, cyber is just a lever of war, right? And as we're seeing, that lever is pulled in very interesting ways in conflict.
Oh yeah, playbooks are being rewritten as we speak.
Yeah, and let's talk about the other side now, okay? On one side, you have the IT Army, which is a government-backed and created organization that is educating and telling people how to launch DDoS attacks against Russia. On the other side, you have Killnet. Killnet is the Russian form of their IT Army. It's a little bit more looser. It doesn't have exact control by the government.
They don't like music. They're not really song lovers.
There's a lot of debate about how much control they have right now, or how much they are controlled by the Russian government. We're not going to get into that at this very moment. But who is Killnet? Killnet is this group. It is a group of what they call citizen. They claim to be citizens and not part of the Russian government. But the group is launching DDoS attacks against Ukraine. Some of the more recent attacks Killnet target the United States. So like one of the things is that they are attacking anybody who is actually involved in the Russian conflict or the intervention in Ukraine. And so, of course, we know the United States is very well involved. So Killnet decided to DDoS Bradley Airport, which we'll get into in a little bit, but that was a very serious situation. They also launched attacks against Romania's government, Italy's government, and Eurovision, if you're a fan.
A failed attack. Failed attack.
Failed attack. We had to. They suck. They also attacked Germany's government, which is kind of interesting. During there was a very large campaign against Italy, and a little bit of backstory we'll get into the next slide. But this is kind of where the conflict of Anonymous and Killnet kind of come together. Is that Killnet was launching attacks against Italy, and these attacks were actually pretty serious. Killnet even compromised the Anon News Italia website or Twitter account and tweet out some interesting things. They got it back, and then they also lost their account. But there's been a lot of drama, which is kind of interesting because I think it's fair to say at this point, hacktivism is back. You had Killnet and you had IT Army, which were let's just say they're government sponsored or government aligned groups. And then you have Anonymous, which is just kind of like this freeloading hacktivist group here that has kind of come back. And I've talked about this before. In 2016, Anonymous tapered out after the Clinton-Trump election, which really kind of sowed a divide across the whole entire hacktivist community. But they've come back. They've united underneath the cause of attacking Russia, and they're trying to take on Killnet at the moment. But Killnet is actually giving them a little bit of a run for their money. And like I was talking about earlier, IT Army, and I guess you could also put Killnet in that category of learning from the mistakes of Anonymous, which I don't think Anonymous has learned from their mistakes yet either, or they haven't learned from their own mistakes, which is kind of a bit of an issue, to be honest. But there's a lot of drama going on between the two groups.
Yeah, it's the cyber war. What we say, the cyber war inside the cyber war, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Related but unrelated, because it has nothing to do anymore with Ukraine or Russia. It's just two factions that want to have a bleeping measuring contest, right?
And that's a good point there, right? Like you have these groups that aren't launching attacks against the area of conflict. Right? IT Army is launching attacks against Russia. They're not attacking anybody else. They're attacking Russia and Belarus, the people that invaded them. Where if you look at Killnet, Killnet is not really focusing on targeting Ukraine. They're focused on targeting those that are helping Ukraine.
Yeah.
Which is why Anonymous has come in, is that, you know, I think everybody was fair with the war being fought within a border. But as soon as it started leaking out, you start having these problems like, okay, well, who's going to deal with Killnet? Well, of course, Anonymous is going to stand up and do something like that. So a little bit into who's Killnet. This one media outlet, CyberKonw, they've been killing it through the conflict. They're covering a lot of things. They posted up a pretty interesting blog. Yeah.
Killing Killnet. Yeah.
Yeah. They've started. I wouldn't say they're doxing, but they're documenting some of the more confirmed information out there, talking about how Killnet has this subgroup on Telegram called Cyber Army. You know how weird it is, dude? For like the last 10 years, everything's been on Twitter. Now it's all over on Telegram. I have such a hard time with it. But yeah,
Telegram is the new Tor, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know why, but
the new underground. Everybody's
Killnet has like this media page called Cyber War where they're posting up information and other content that might help other users around the area. There's Legion, who's allegedly another hacker. So it's not a group, it's a person that's controlling another subset of users, which is kind of interesting because what was it? I don't think they have it listed here. There's a new member. Yeah, right there, Jackie. Jackie is an interesting character because there's actually a tool floating out that Jackie's decided to put his or her name on. It's called Blood. I think Pascal.
Yep.
There we go. Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. You know, like throughout the cyber war or the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, there's been a number of tools suggested to use. One of the things I just kind of want to mention before Pascal jumps into here is that a lot of times these tools are just like re-edited and remix just so they can put their handle on it, right? They're actually not really creating too many things. They just want to put a Killnet. And the reason why I say that is because this was something that was very popular with Anonymous. Anonymous would always take tools. They would just change the print text so it said their name, and then they'd distribute it like crazy. And I think this is kind of the same situation that we're in here.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can see on the attack methods alone. You see on the layer 4 Minecraft DDoS attack. I'm not sure how that is being used in a cyber war. To be honest, same for the Valve Source Engine protocol, which is attacking gaming servers. So that was an existing tool where they just put their name on, and they put some nice graphics on top of it. They repurpose it. But again, the same kind of attacks that you see in DDoS. So on both sides of the fence, they're using similar tools. Have to note again, written in Python again and again and again. Those tools are always written in Python. It's just full of tools written in Python. It's time to step up, guys, and write some tools in Go. Like the Disbalancer team. At least they got that right, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so they have pretty much the typical attacks that we used to see. Layer 7, it's a proxied web request, so get, post, head. Raw proxies, so use socket, Hulk attack. So there's not really slow loris, which can more and more we hear about the low and slow attacks. So we had the Italian government reporting low and slow attacks. Yeah, Bozer.
Bozer says for it's
to attack Russian Minecraft server.
Russian Minecraft propaganda servers. Okay,
yeah.
the kids were spreading propaganda on the Minecraft servers. That's the reason why we had a DOS. Okay, so we just have to make sure that's clear.
Yeah. How about the metaverse? Isn't there any propaganda in the metaverse? No.
NFTs, please take them away.
Yeah.
Oh man! And the interesting thing about Killnet, he's also had a botnet, and I actually want to do that for him.
Well, yeah, but that's fine. So who was Killnet before? So that's actually interesting because when you go look into Killnet, they pre-invasion they were a group that sold DDoS and stretcher tools. So they were building a new network killing technology, a decentralized.
Wasn't IT Army doing this too?
No. That was a DDoS mitigation tool. This is a DDoS attack tool. So Disbalancer pivoted their business. They just continued their business, and but they were claiming a decentralized botnet with also with blockchain. So blockchain also includes Web 3.0 back here. Okay, 700,000 zombies, 3.6 terabit per second. We didn't see it. Maybe it was Fronton, but we didn't really see it. So they were building a botnet. Oh, and you even have it on the slide there, Web 3.0. I will make the slide a bit bigger than you can see. Our botnet, it's Web 3. So blockchain based. That brings us, Daniel, to the CISA alert.
Sorry, I was.
Yeah, looking at Bozer, is there an IRC server for Radware?
No, but you know what? Now you mention it, we should have a Telegram channel.
Yeah.
We'd be cool like everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking the same. Discord, IRC, that's all for the old people.
We might take this suggestion to the suggestion box next. Yeah. This might happen. So one of the things I want to talk about here was an alert from US CERT CISA. This was kind of an interesting one, and it has a little bit to do with what we were previously talking about. This was an alert put out by the US government about Russian state-sponsored cyber criminals threatening to attack critical infrastructure, which for a long time we've said, oh, you know, there's a wolf coming, and you just kind of wondered when the cyber wolf was going to show up, and it's here. So this is going to be a little bit of an interesting one, but recently Russian state-sponsored operators were seen launching DDoS attacks against U.S. critical infrastructure. Specifically, that was going to be Bradley Airport, and that was going to be Killnet. Killnet, as I said, was attacking people that are intervening in the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, and they thought it would be a great idea to launch a DDoS attack against the U.S. airport. And because of that, they are now listed up there with all the Russian APT groups. They make the CISA alert, and also one of their sub-hacking groups, Hacknet. I think I pronounced that right.
Yeah, you got
sure
that right. Hacknet. Yeah.
Sweet. Which is a team that's associated.
It reads like Hacknet, but it's Hacknet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Russian.
X throws me off, but whatever. It sounds cool and looks cool. Association with Killnet, and they also were known for leaking Ukrainian emails, which is a little interesting because the hack team was created in March, which was just right after the start of the war. And the group specifically is working with that hacker Legion from Killnet. Sorry, I've actually skipped to the next slide there, my bad.
Yeah,
which is another group that's in Telegram. He doesn't give me control of the slides anymore because I'm an ADHD and I'm on my mouse a lot. So
I had too much work reinstalling my PC after the last Threat Researchers Live, so
it happens. So yeah, anyways, it's a group underneath Killnet. They've been working in parallel with Legion to launch DDoS attacks against anybody that's intervening in the Russian-Ukrainian war, which is kind of interesting. And also, like you said, they're sitting on Telegram like everybody else. So if you're interested in seeing what they're talking about, you can go on over there. And also the other news outlet I told you that's really doing a great job of killing it is CyberKonw. And they have this really, really cool tracking graphic here about all the different groups that are involved in the Russian-Ukrainian conflict. I'm sorry, it's kind of small, but it's kind of interesting. You know, it shows you the different hacking groups and different pro-Russian groups and different nation-state groups that are involved. And you know, if you want to learn more about this, definitely go check out CyberKnow's. I think they're on Medium, but they're detailing a lot of information about those that are involved in this war.
Yeah, the link is in the description, so just click the link. Whatever you do, if you want to be a good researcher, click every link you receive.
Of course, that's the best of the best out there.
That's our job, clicking on everything.
Yeah. So okay, out of conflict and into some DDoS attacks here.
Yeah.
Some fun ones. Cloudflare recently announced another record-breaking. Dude, how many record-breaking attacks have there been? It's just like one after another after another.
Last year, I think there were 6 or 7. This year we had 4, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. And, you know, the thing I find strange about all these large-scale attacks is, you know, like 5 years ago, any hacker that could launch an attack this size would literally run to the media with their photo ID to prove that they were the ones that did this. Today,
look, no hands.
No one wants to claim these, which is kind of interesting, but they're out there. But anyways, in April,
it has been going on since August last year. Those high RPS attacks, and then Maris was involved at some point, and but they're still going, and it's like hit and run.
Yeah, it's strange. Like this attack was only 15 seconds. Like what kind of damage are you doing in 15 seconds? Like service goes off, service goes on. It almost seems like it's a warning shot, right? Like if you really want to hold someone down, you would launch a much longer attack. I personally don't understand it. Maybe there's more research that needs to be done about why only a 15-second attack is enough. I get pulse waves and burst attacks, but just one, whatever. Anyways, the attack was 15 seconds, used 6,000 bots. The target of the attack was a crypto launchpad. So it's a platform you use to create other cryptocurrencies and coins and all other fun stuff. But the interesting thing about this report is Cloudflare went so far as to detail where most of the traffic originated from, which was OVH and Hetzner. Did I say that right?
German.
Woo! So very interesting attack that happened.
Well, yeah,
like we had talked about, gone in 60
those
seconds.
Are proxies. Well, you cannot rely on it's what I always say. You know one thing about the origins of DDoS attack. Whenever people put in a chart, this is where the attack originated from. Everybody, oh look, China, guys. When it's UDP, you know one thing for sure. It's spoofed. It's either spoofed because they are doing a direct pot attack and they're randomly spoofing the source IP to avoid evasion, and not find out where they're located, or it's spoofed because they're using amplification. When it comes to TCP attacks, you cannot spoof because you need a connection. Well, there's proxies for that, and there's plenty of providers. Just go look at I think it's bestproxies.ru. Just go look over there. They're refreshed that they have hundreds of thousands of proxies that sit in people's homes, so devices that have been hacked and that are being used from people's internet connection. They refresh that list every couple of hours with new IPs, so it's rotating. So if there's one thing that you know about attacks, where the traffic originated from, you got it wrong. Sorry, my rant.
No. The rants are all accepted here in chat and in video stream. It's kind of interesting though, seeing these large scale attacks. And like Nexus said, there's large attacks out there, and you know, some of them are seen, some of them aren't seen. But as I like to say in the past, someone has a very large hand cannon, and they haven't admitted to ownership of it yet.
Yeah. And we are not sure what they want to do with it. Now, this is a bit more realistic, I would say. It's not that high. Of course, we've seen 2.4 and higher terabit per second DDoS attacks in terms of volumetric, but most of them were like 5 minutes, like hit and runs. Sometimes coming back a couple of hours later, but this one was actually a sustained one. Now it peaked at 1.1 terabit per second, but it was like 700 or between 700 and 800 gigabit per second sustained for over 8 hours. So that's more like it, I would say. That's a legitimate DDoS attack, right? You put the pressure on the guy and you don't let go until he gives up. Well, they give up.
Yeah,
because we were able to mitigate it, but the total attack time lasted for 36 hours. So that is actual, yeah, that is putting somebody under pressure.
Oh yeah, long attacks, man. I'll tell you, like these attacks do come in. It's a fun one. It gets everybody excited.
Whoever can sustain more than 700 gigabit per second for 8 hours, that's a serious contester. If you see those attacks of a couple of hundreds of gigabit per second lasting 5, 10, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, those are typically stressor services. Not somebody who built an infrastructure, but this guy must have an infrastructure. It cannot be different. Now, we have no idea of the origins of the attack or what it was about, but
if you're running any of these botnets, just like holler, you know.
Yeah.
I can set up a Proton account or anything. I want to know what y'all doing. Please.
Yeah, reach out. Educate us. You. Yeah. We will make you famous. We promise.
Yeah. Or not. We can keep secrets. We can keep secrets.
Yeah, absolutely.
So another interesting report that came out was Microsoft detailed the
anatomy.
Tongue twisters here. More sugar.
The European guy to the US guy.
Yeah, I know. I get it. Ha 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 ha. Of UDP and TCP amplification attacks, which I think these are pretty well-known attacks. It's nothing new, but I like to bring these things up because they're numbers, right? And numbers are things that we can put down, look at as a reference point. So over the last 12 months, Microsoft has mitigated 175,000 UDP reflected amplification attacks. Most of those attacks are going to come from NTP, DNS, SSDP, and Memcache, that's kind of an interesting one. Memcache is still kind of hanging around. That was
we also see it. So in our reports reflect the same. So NTP, DNS, SSDP, and Memcached is also the top amplification protocols that we see. Memcached for some reason still lingers there. I wonder if they find by accident sometimes some servers that are still exposed on the internet.
They have to. I mean, that's the only reason it's going to be up in top 4 because there's other.
What I am sure is, however, there's lots of scanning for Memcached. So every 5 minutes, you can be sure that there's one packet that calls along in every website on the internet to scan for Memcached. I have plenty of Memcached scans in our cloud, but there's only like 1 or 2 packets. And 90% of the scans come from white hats. people who are trying to find exposed services, who are trying to list what is the risk level of attack vectors. So scanning the internet continuously to find out what's happening. But must be wrong T-shirt. Yes, we scan.
It might be him over there.
You have to turn your hand, Daniel.
No, it's a thumb. It's the thumb that's pointing. See, low key. So one of the interesting call-outs also from the report is that the highest throughput of an attack was 58 million packets per second, and it was an SSDP attack that launched 20 minutes. So, like as we were saying, like this is kind of a serious attack here. Someone actually put in a little bit of time there to that. Another interesting thing to call out is that there's been an increase in TCP reflected amplification attacks, and this is something that we covered 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago, and then it came back last year with the middle boxes. Remember those HTTP censoring middle boxes. Man, it's a hard episode. Lots of difficult words.
Yeah, so much referencing going on too. But a little interesting though, in this attack, they called out that there's a victim in Asia, 30 million packets per second lasting 15 minutes, but the attack came from 900 TCP reflectors, which is kind of interesting to think about, that, you know, a list of 1,000 reflectors is enough to cause some serious damage.
Oh, yeah, but we have seen that before. So you can use the internet as a reflector there. Every box has some ports that are answering with SYNAC. So if you SYN random IPs, you can use the whole internet as a reflector, and you just spoof as the source your target, and your target is getting bombarded with SYNACs, and at the same time the people who get lots of SYNs think that they're under attack from the victim, so they might go and blacklist that victim. And yeah, Nexus, apparently there's a Radware Telegram channel. Okay, time to subscribe, I guess.
Oh man,
who owns it? That's the question. Who owns the Telegram channel?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm pulling it up right now to see it. There's people actually in this channel talking.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sweet.
Thanks, Nexus. We learned something today.
All right, that's kind of interesting there. Maybe we have to do Discord or something else then, or maybe we'll make a research one. So this is an alert that we put out yesterday. There's DDoS groups that are active in Europe and Asia, specifically a group that's going by the name Phantom Squad and another one going by the name REvil. We just want to note that Phantom Squad is not Phantom Squad and REvil is not REvil. These are people that are leveraging names to pose as these groups as a technique to spread fear. Of course, if you get a letter from REvil, you're immediately going to think, oh, that's the ransomware group. You're not going to think, oh, it's some skids pretending to be launching a DDoS attack. Anyways, what we had seen over the weekend was a renewed campaign from Phantom Squad. The group was using the same layout, so it was a copy paste of the letter that we saw in 2017. It's been a long time since we've seen this name pop up. They're currently active in Asia, but one of the more interesting things about this campaign is that they're using a WannaCry Bitcoin address. So there's no way that these, I'm just going to call them kids, are going to be able to get this money unless they're actually North Koreans associated with the Lazarus group, which is highly improbable. So,
wait, so
likelihood.
Phantom Squad was first and last seen in 2017 doing an active campaign, right? Mm-hmm. When was WannaCry?
2017. So there's a lot of humor going on right here. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, the WannaCry wallet, it had what, 500,000 US?
Yeah, and like 200 plus. There's an insane transaction rate too. So
yeah,
like
more than 250 transactions. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and granted, like nothing's happened since 2017, but you get this letter, you go look at the blockchain address, and you go, whoa, this person's active, they have money. Now the sad thing is, if you sent the money to them because you got this letter, they probably didn't get the money because, as I said, the Coinbase or the Bitcoin address has been attributed to the North Korean ABT group.
Hold on, that guy is campaigning to fund Russians, because WannaCry was Sandworm, right? Oh no, not Petya was Sandworm. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Okay.
Too many attacks to keep track of
Wrong.
here. But you know, the
I'm
point
gonna
I bring
cut
up
that
is,
part. I'm gonna cut this part. It's okay.
you know, the interesting part about all this is that most of the time these groups, like in 2017 when we saw Phantom Squad, they had sent out RDoS letters to thousands of people around the world, and they're asking for a very low amount of money. There's no sample tax launched. So obviously this group at the time was looking just to try and make money. This time around, there's only been one letter seen, 3 victims targeted, and the Bitcoin wallet is not associated, likely not associated with this group. So kind of have to ask yourself, like, what's the motive? What's the objective behind this campaign? It's likely to spread fear.
Or it was a
We
troll.
didn't go. There's also a lot of issues that are going on over in Asia at the moment. So it could have also been some kind of political scare tactic. Whatever it may be, the attackers didn't launch an attack on the May 23rd when they said they were. There was no sample attack launched, and we haven't seen a letter since. But we did want to alert the public and let them know that there are actual RDoS groups going around and to stay vigilant. And the reason why we say that is because there's a group REvil. It's not actually REvil, it's an RDoS group impersonating REvil. They were previously seen the year before, and they're back
October,
again. Yeah. Now the big difference is when they were targeting VoIPs last year, they're using a Twitter account to spread fear. So what they're doing is that they were adding their victims and their user base of the victims to let them know why there was an outage going on and why their target should actually pay the ransom. Fast forward to this year, the REvil RDoS group is actually now using embedded messages and DDoS attacks to deliver.
If they are the same, yeah.
If they are the same, yeah. I mean, there could be 2 groups posing the same. Attribution gets very difficult, but let's just say the group currently opposing as REvil is launching attacks with embedded messages.
Yeah, it's HTTP GET attack. So it's one of those high requests per second. So it goes up into the millions of requests per second. And what they do is they embed the message in the URL. So what happens when your server gets URLs, you log them. Why you log them? For troubleshooting. So whenever your server has an issue, the first thing that the administrator will do is go look in the logs, and what he sees, the log is flooded with messages. So and you see an example of one of those messages. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger. So you cannot miss the message. Now actually this message, they first sent an email message like the traditional RDoS to warn people, hey, we're gonna do an attack, but if nobody responds, then they start attacking and put those messages in the payload itself. It's not the first time we see that. We had that like in 2018. There was CyberEason that detected that in the memcached, and we're back to memcached attacks, where if you remember memcached, the way that it worked is that you will pre-stage a big binary object into a open memcached server, which is actually like a caching server. So you put a big binary or text message there, you add a tag to it, and then you're gonna request that tag through UDP to send you the big blob of data. It's like a caching lookup. It's an in-memory lookup. You have a key, you have content, you send the key in UDP, and it streams in UDP back the content to you. However, it's UDP, so you can spoof the source IP. So if you preload the server with a big message and you put a keyword on it, and they use the most creative keywords, of course, like always.
Nice.
So let's say we put a keyword radware. What you do then is you send a UDP packet, you request keyword radware, the content behind keyword radware, but you spoof the source IP. So what the server does is take that big content that you put in there and sends it to the spoofed IP address, which is the victim. That's how you got more than 50,000 times amplification that was possible from memcached. Now that pre-staging of that binary large object that you put in that server could could be text, and in that text you can put whatever you want. And some were embedding actually messages in there, the ransom messages. That was what was detected by Cybereason at the time. So yeah, and
definitely interesting. The RDoS
yeah,
groups are
yeah,
evolving very quickly.
yeah, and this is a couple of millions of requests per second, so it's not small attacks. It's application level to start with. It's HTTPS, so it's encrypted. Makes it harder on the server. So something to watch out for.
I love this one. So one of the things I want to talk about here is that the profits were recovered from this Eve 3VE botnet. This was a botnet that was taken down by the U.S. government several years ago. And the U.S. government had just recently recovered $15 million from the digital fraud campaign that it was running. So the money was actually handed over in a final forfeiture, which came from Switzerland, I believe. And it was kind of interesting because the defendant was using this botnet to run digital advertisement schemes where he basically, he infected, was it 1.7 million computers, spoofing more than 86,000 domains, create fake falsified traffic to generate ad revenue. And the funny thing was, I had to put a picture of Elon Musk here because there's a giant debate on Twitter going about fake bots and ad revenue. So I figured, like, why not keep this in here? But yeah, because of this botnet, I was able to download and fabricate web pages and falsify billions of ad views, resulting in him handing over $15 million of his profit. But in total, the business was paid more than $29 million for ads that were never reviewed, which is pretty impressive. And you hear us talk about IoT botnets a lot and DDoS attacks. This is another form of attack that can happen from these botnets is ad fraud. And this is, I believe, what Job Paris from the creator of Mirai ended up getting charged with. Was the ad traffic fraud, not the actual DDoS attacks.
Yeah, using his botnets for ad traffic.
Yeah, and so another thing I want to talk about is Mirai architecture. So CrowdStrike, which is kind of funny. CrowdStrike always chases after like bleeding edge cases, has put out 2 reports this month on Mirai. So they are swerving over into the most important
They're getting
field
bored.
of research.
Not enough attacks going on in the world. Let's
I don't
chase
think they're
IoT.
Getting bored. They realize that IoT research is the crown jewel of internet research. You know that we are.
It take them a long time.
They're coming to join the party now. Welcome to the party. Anyways, they put out a really great report. I make jokes, but they put out a good report. According to CrowdStrike, they actually found that Mirai variants had doubled. Was it the 32-bit x86 processing? So that's targeting Intel processors on Linux devices.
So that, 32-bit probably because of convenience for compiling. But x86, that would make me believe more cloud servers because
which are going to be more powerful. As they say, they have stronger chips, so they're launching bigger attacks.
Yeah. Although, well, the M1 is an ARM chip. The Apple M1 is an ARM chip, so yeah. Looking at the chat, let's bring up.
Yeah, I was looking at check huge collection of source 200. Hardy har. 200 sources of Mirai variants.
Yeah, well, yeah. There's lots of variants out there.
There's so many out there. It's unbelievable. Thank you, Job Paris, once again for an unbelievable piece of malware. I hope you have a job somewhere fighting against this.
That's where it all started.
You want to talk about where it all started? The next slide. Going back to TRL1 here, man.
The Threat Researchers Live, episode 1. Fronton.
Fronton makes a return.
if you want to have a good laugh, go back to our first episode. That was like 2 years when the pandemic started. Actually, we started doing that.
If you want to have a good laugh, also read this report. And I don't mean because of the report. I mean it's because of what happened. This when I was reading this report, my jaw kind of dropped because it's like, we all make little mistakes and we're all short-sighted sometimes. This was an interesting one. So when the Fronton information came out, there was a lot of news made about this contractor that was building an IoT botnet for purpose of DDoS for the Russian government. We all ran out and wrote reports and we talked about it. Do you know what we forgot to do? We all forgot to go check the dump site the next day, but this company did. And what this company found is they found
2 years later.
second leak. Yeah, a few years later, but they went back and they found that there's an incredible amount of information that was dumped about the Fronton Botnet. And of course, as we talked about, this was disclosed by Digital Revolution in 2020. It was supposedly a botnet being built by Ode Technologies. And it was kind of interesting because this group had determined that the bot was designed for what they called inauthentic behavior. So what that really translates to is that they made a social media fake news botnet. This botnet not only could launch attacks, but it could also create what they called fake accounts and news breaks. So they could create a number of fake profiles across social media platforms, and then they could use these platforms inside of Fronton to schedule what they called news breaks, which were coordinated pieces of misinformation designed to sow chaos on social media.
So,
which is
yeah, this ties into the troll farm in Russia, right? The
yeah,
one
and I
that
believe they
the
actually
operation owned by the what is it, the cook of Putin, who owns that troll farm.
it's very interesting. You know, it's something that's been in the news for the last like 2 or 3 years as far as like fake news and propaganda and all that other fun stuff. And now we're starting to see a little bit more full picture of Russia's capability and what they're doing. But I'll be fair at the same time, like if they can do that, I wonder what we're doing. You know, the sword goes both ways, and it just kind of brings up the question, like, man, the cyber war landscape is definitely being more. I'll say it's always been here, but it's just getting more attention now. I think more people are learning about the ramifications and risk of this current threat landscape. And actually talking about risk and the growing threat landscape here on the next slide here. This is a report from 360 Net Lab. I love this group. They do great research. And they're talking about the profile of Fbot, which is a botnet from a series of criminals called Ripper. This graphic just shows you the diversity of attacks. This botnet and group is mainly Chinese based. They do attack a lot in China, but as you can see, they attack Russia and the United States pretty much just as frequent as they do. But yeah, interesting things about Fbot here. So the threat group that is leveraging Fbot currently is the Ripper group. This is something that we've seen here and there. They actually the Ripper group operates a series of loader websites where other criminals can actually hire them to load their binaries on a server for their malware to actually download.
It's the Ripper.cc domain, right? That pops up quite regularly. Yeah.
Yep. Yes, sir. And prior to that, the Fbot group was using a botnet called RipperBot, but that has recently been replaced with the leak of Fbot. Hey, Nexus, looking at you. If you got these source codes, you might have offered up that information a little too early there, but if you have Ripper or Fbot, please let me know. Which is kind of interesting. But anyways, the Fbot is leveraging multiple C2 servers. It contains about 8 different DDoS attack vectors, and was recently seen targeting the Beijing Health Treasury on April 28th, so just right at the end of the last month, which is a kind of interesting, just a little interesting thing I wanted to bring. Oh, yes, dude's got it.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up the chat, otherwise people don't know why you're saying, oh, yes.
Okay, so anyways, yeah, I just asked. Nexus had mentioned that he had a large collection of source codes, and he's got it, so sweet. We're going to have to find a way to communicate at some point.
Yeah. Give us your address. We'll send you a t-shirt.
we
or
do all kinds of fun stuff
PlayStation.
here.
You know,
Whoa.
no,
I don't know if
that is a typical
our bosses
technique,
are gonna
right?
allow.
So that
Yeah, I
that's how
love
the
PlayStation
underground
too.
criminals work, right? They find somebody on the forum. Hey, can you code for me? Oh yeah, give me your address. I will send you a PlayStation. Okay, cool. Dogs.
Oh, we can figure it out though. But yeah, Fbot was a kind of interesting one. It's launched several attacks against the Chinese health system. Why a botnet would be launching an attack against a Chinese hospital is kind of self-explanatory at the moment. China's having a lot of issues with COVID, lockdowns, and all other fun stuff. So, just like any other country, locals can be pissed off. So things happen. And then let's see.
Oh yeah, you already covered it probably.
Yeah, so then the rise in XorDdos malware, the next one.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is a really, really old botnet. It was founded in 2014 by Malware Must Die. Pretty good researcher, actually. But anyways, Microsoft observed that there's a 254% increase in the malware sample over the last 6 months, which is pretty impressive. I mean,
from how much does it come?
I was gonna say, yeah. How much does it come? From 1 to 4.
If it went from 1 to 3, then yeah, okay, I see.
Yeah, but yeah, anyways, the botnet's been named after its DDoS activity and its XOR-based encryption. It's a very simple botnet. It's been out for a very long time, like I said. It's known basically to infect devices through SSS brute force attacks. It doesn't actually use exploits or anything like Mirai or any of the new variants do. And it's also got only 3 DDoS attack methods. It does SYN floods, it does DNS floods, and it does ACK floods. So just kind of interesting. Microsoft, once again, with some solid reporting, throwing out there that there is an increase in an old variant. Can't teach an old dog
golden oldies.
Yeah, I was gonna say the golden oldies, right? It's can't go wrong with the classics there.
Well, yeah, the SSH brute force, if you have a good dictionary, it's the most effective way of doing things. You
Which
don't need a lot of exploits.
I always said, like, the one word that you don't find in like brute force dictionary is null. So it might be a fun password to go with there. Yeah. Other DDoS events that are going on. The weaponization of CVE-2022-1388, which was a vulnerability in the REST vulnerability in big IP control.
Yeah, again.
Control, yeah, again.
We don't want to throw them under the bus, by the way. We know we are big competitors of them. And to be fair, they're not the only ones who got added to the list. VMware also made it again to the Hall of Fame, unfortunately. So yeah, those vulnerabilities are happening. It's just how you treat them afterwards.
Yeah, and the special reason why I wanted to bring this up was not to throw anybody under the bus, but it was more or less to show like how fast criminals will leverage exploits. We've talked about this before with the dark IoT botnet.
That's why we do it.
Criminals,
exactly.
Criminals leveraging exploits within hours of disclosure, and that's what we saw here with the CVE. Is that there is a number of bot herders that were leveraging this exploit to spread malware variants or Mirai variants.
Yeah, if it's load balancer directly exposed on the internet, VPNs directly exposed on the internet, web servers directly exposed, all of them being abused and in the wild a couple of hours after the vulnerability comes out.
Yeah,
it's logic.
Pretty rough one, but it's amazing how fast these criminals move.
Oh yeah,
it's definitely notable.
Well, they move fast on the simple exploits, I would say. The more complex ones, like Log4j, it took a while before they actually got it under the knee. There were a couple of scans for it, but not really exploits. The exploits came a couple of weeks later. So, but the stuff like this, remote command execution, that is like, oh man, this.
Yeah, but the thing is that you don't have to be advanced to actually cause any kind of damage. Like
no, you just need to be able to type in GitHub and browse on GitHub. So search CVE 2022-1388 on GitHub. You will find an exploit. It's a Python script, of course. Again, not that I'm against Python. I also use Python a lot, but
How
It
do you
will
feel
be a
about
Py
Go?
it will be a Python script. You just adapt the parameters, put in your own stuff, and off you go. Run it on a server, start scanning, do the stuff.
Yep. So out of DDoS attacks into my favorite category, raids and arrests. And,
Yeah, that's
I
it.
find this really interesting. I like to see how there's cause and effect and consequences to actions, but then there's silly stories like this one that make it and just make you scratch your head and go, what? So a UK citizen was arrested for, I won't say launching attacks, was arrested for the involvement of DDoS attacks against Romania. If you remembered earlier, we talked about Killnet launched attacks against Romania. Well, this person in the United Kingdom was arrested for literally translating attack material from Russia into Romanian.
Yeah, the Killnet Telegram, was that it? That he was translating from Russian?
Yeah, and this is kind of crazy. Like, this is where I say, like, DDoS is a crime, and apparently translating is a crime. I don't know anything about UK law. I'm a US citizen, but apparently this person was, I guess it would go underneath aiding and abetting here in the United States,
It's
something maybe.
I don't think that the translating as much was the actual cause of the arrest. I think it's more likely to be on the wrong side of the curtain, right?
Oh no, this person was not launching attacks. They were only
No, yeah,
but translating material, posting it.
yeah,
But
but he was sitting on the wrong side. He was translating for the wrong side.
oh yeah, of course. Like that's definitely, yeah, he's on the wrong line. Let's just say on the wrong side of the line. If he was in another country, it might have been fine.
We used to have a curtain in Europe, you know, the Iron
A
Curtain.
big one, really?
Yeah,
You guys
yeah, it
bring it
was.
in every day and
Yeah.
put it out every day.
That that's why we always refer to on the wrong side of the curtain. So you know, yeah.
You salute it when it goes up and everything. Oh,
Yeah.
is that really where it came from? The wrong side of the curtain?
I don't know.
Oh my gosh, I thought I was learning something there. So anyways,
I might have
the
made that
reason
up.
why I want to bring this up was because I think in our last year we talked about the Philippine government and Meta, Facebook, was removing, I think it was like 400 accounts on Facebook for spreading attack information. And that's what this would be classified as, is he was spreading attack information. He was translating information about who was going to be attacked and what tools to use and reposted it. And apparently that constituted as a crime in the United Kingdom.
Aren't we doing the same thing? Because our work is to find out who's going to be attacked before they get attacked.
Give me like 5 slides and I'll get to that. I will come back to that. That's a good question, Pascal. So the other raid and arrest I want to talk about is the Thanos creator was charged. This was an unbelievable story. Because like, you have this image of what a hacker is, and I guarantee you most of our audience is not assuming that a hacker is a cardiologist who moonlights as a criminal. But that's exactly what we have here. We have a gentleman from down in Venezuela who's 55 years old that is a cardiologist surgeon during the day, and at nighttime he's a mastermind criminal. And he was charged with the creation and the design and architecture of Thanos, the use, sell, support, and profit sharing for a ransomware campaign. And this gentleman also bragged about his associations with teaching Iranian hackers how to run campaigns, which I have to say, like, I always didn't like the person in class that set the curve because they're too smart, and I have a feeling this was the guy. You know, like, I don't know, but me, when I get off of work, I just want to go relax. I don't want to touch a computer. This guy gets out of an OR and decides like, hey, let's just go hack the planet.
And how the Iranians...
HTTP, dude, let's just do it. He's got more spirit than the average hacker. I just have to say that much. Very impressed by the overachieving, but very sad to see that someone chose the path of crime like this. It's such a
55-year-old. There's still hope for me. Look at that.
Yeah. I think it'll be safe though, Pascal. I don't know. Maybe we might have something about this. There was also a Botherder that was sentenced to federal prison here in the United States. Nothing really too special about this. It was a gentleman that was selling compromised credentials on a marketplace, selling thousands of them actually. 28 years old, arrested in Portland, coming over here in the United States. He had to forfeit 82 $1,000 and is going to spend the next 4 years in federal prison thinking about brute forcing computers. So kind of interesting situation. Like I said, it's not too sexy, it's not exciting, but needless to say, it's another story of someone using a botnet to compromise devices in a way that's other than DDoS. So, we talked about ad fraud, and then this is another thing, brute force credential compromisation, which falls underneath CFAA here in the United States as far as trafficking credentials, which is a weird charge, but and then into legalities. This is the fun side of things. I feel like the federal governments around the world have been listening to me, and they decided this month to go out and give some great quotes that I can run with that support all of my crazy nonsense for the last few months. But anyways, Interpol came out and said, "Hey, Daniel, you are correct. We are not going to be able to arrest our way out of this problem." And I said, "No, really." And they bring up a great point, is that we are not going to be able to arrest our way out of this problem. There are too many criminals. If you want to actually just go after the IT army and Killnet alone, I don't think we have enough jail cells and handcuffs and law enforcement to go enforce this. So we are definitely in a losing battle here. And they brought up a point that we do need to work as a global community on this challenge. But I'll bring a little bit sad news here. I mean, we are already working as a community on this challenge, and we are getting our butts whooped really, really bad. So the question is, do we need to step up enforcement and arrest more people, or do we need to begin looking at a new way to deal with this? Let me just say this. It's a lost war on cyber. They make the jokes about the lost war on the drug war, and you have lost war on cyber. There's really not much we can do other than tolerate and try to control the best we can and eliminate risk as well. But then the NSA came out here, Rob Joyce, he was like, "Daniel, once again, you are correct." And he said that,
they love you over there in America, I see.
Oh yeah, the Interpol too. Where's Mossad at? We need some. Mossad needs to come in here and say I'm right as well. Just stroke my ego here. So the director of the NSA came out, and the director of cybersecurity of the NSA came out and said the reemergence of online vigilantes or hacktivists during the war in Ukraine could prove to be problematic. The sky is blue. It's definitely problematic. I've been talking about this for the last 2 months, that you have hacktivist influencers that are trying to convince innocent people around the world to get involved in a situation they don't need to get involved in and risk their freedom for something they don't need to risk. Which is really sad. And also, as I say, when we get a peace treaty, at some point in time,
Boxmining, are you watching? Look.
Yeah, please.
Let's make it a little bit bigger for you. Here you go.
Yeah, right.
Don't do it.
The problem is, at the end of the day, wars come to an end, and Russia and Ukraine's war will come to an end at some point. But as Rob Joyce says, it's problematic because these people are not going to stop. Hacktivists and hackers and vigilantes are not going to stop because you said the war's over. They are still going to have their emotionally compromised perspective about this happened to me or that happened to so-and-so, and I need to get one back. And that's going to be a problem because then the other groups are going to be there to throw one back as well. It will become a tit-for-tat war it will become a tit-for-tat hacktivist cyber war after the real cyber war ends. But also,
if you would know the number of advisories that I get that start with a tit-for-tat war from you, it's like
it's my favorite word, and it's a very accurate word to describe a lot of cyber conflicts. One for ones. You hit me, I hit you back. I don't think we're in trouble until we see 2 hits for every 1 hit type of thing. Then we know we're in serious trouble in escalation. But the head of Australia's Cybersecurity Center had mentioned that hacktivists, they're introducing extreme unpredictability, which that is hacktivists. They are Kali, they are chaos. They're there to influence as much chaos as possible, because normally the person that influences chaos is the one that's in control. But intelligence services are going to have a hard time dealing with this as it spills over in wrongful attribution in this case, right? So we've already seen this. We've seen the spillover. We see the group Killnet that is not launching attacks in Ukraine. They are launching attacks external to their conflict. And wrongful attribution. There's going to be a lot of attribution that is going to be wrong in the future. We try to stay away from it.
But
But you
then
know,
comes the
there's certain state,
dangerous is retribution.
right? Retribution, escalation is that last part, and that's something I like to talk about in these raids and arrests. Like, I don't do it just because I like to see people in misery. It's not why I cover it. It's because I want to show you, like, these people are being arrested. They're gonna get out and they're gonna have retribution. Like, it's something that we need to consider in how we move forward dealing with cybersecurity. But to answer Pascal's question, none of us are going to jail. And the reason why none of us are going to jail now is because the United States has had a reverse change in their policy. So a lot of people in the InfoSec community hate the CFAA. The CFAA is very limiting to researchers and what you can do, discover, and learn. But the United States government last week decided in a major policy change to stop charging good faith researchers under the CFAA.
Well, at least you're not going to jail. I still have to wait.
It's cool. I'll vouch for you.
Okay.
I'll call
Yeah,
Interpol said I was right, so like they definitely going to listen to me.
Okay. Good stuff.
But this is kind of interesting because I will include Pascal into this. We are good faith researchers, and sometimes you might have to compromise criminals' box. In the past, you couldn't do that because you'd go to jail. Now we're opening up the room for good faith researchers to possibly compromise malicious infrastructure in the purpose of eliminating and reducing risk for the global environment, which is a great thing for the greater good. But we're going to have to see how this one plays out in the next few months. That, you know, the problem is that you could have researchers that cross a line.
Could be the Wild West.
We could be introducing the Wild West. Very, very true. So very interesting, something to pay attention to. Might be good for all of us, might be bad, but we'll have to see which way the sword swings in that one.
Or we just continue doing like we did before. We do it, but we don't say it.
Shh.
Coming from one depression into another depression. Now it's going to be fun. Another fun part. Look at that, Daniel. We have so many fun parts in our presentation.
Yeah, actually, we're doing really good on time, man. I have to say.
Yeah. I am surprised. I still have 20 minutes. Let me take this slow and go very deep. No. So yeah, on to supply chain attacks, which is the next section. So of course there has been a good amount, but something new. Rust came to the foreground. So for those who don't know, Rust is a fairly recent developing language, or development language better. It's supposed to replace C and C++ in most cases by being much more robust and much more secure. It wants to take away all the danger of C, you know, the buffer overflows, dangling pointers. I was gonna say pissing out of your box, but how do we call that when we write the buffer overflow? Yeah. Yeah, as a developer, we used to say that in Dutch, but I don't know if it translates well.
It doesn't translate well, right?
Yeah. So a supply chain attack against the Rust development community. Actually, the malware was written in Go, so it's not really Rust. So there you go, Go. Go becoming much more popular. So it was an attack on the continuous integration pipeline specifically for GitLab. So the malware that, or better, the malicious module that was posted in crates.io, which is the community repository where you download modules for Rust, was actually looking for some environment variables that were specific for GitLab continuous integration pipelines. And from there, it would download a second stage payloads. And then and those second stage payloads. Yes, Nexus. I speak Dutch, but I'm Belgian. I'm not Netherlands. But I'm fairly close to you. So Go binaries were downloaded, and they are built based on the red teaming framework called Mythic. So Mythic, it's actually Python again, Mythic, but it's like it's a container that you can use for red teaming exercises and for compromising and backdooring different applications or better service when you are in. But the attack was not really clear what they were after at that moment. It was more looking like an enabler for subsequent supply chain attacks. So looking like okay, we put a backdoor here, and then we can leverage that backdoor at a later stage to do some bad stuff. But it has been cleaned up, and I put the IOC there. So that's the command and control server, API cacn.li. I don't know what li is. What is that? Is that a country, li? You're on mute? Daniel, you're muted. How do you mute YouTube? I've been trying that for ages. Doesn't work for me.
I'm not muted.
Yeah, you were.
Prove it.
Li. Yeah, I don't know.
Liechtenstein.
No way. That is like the smallest state on the face of the earth. You have Monaco, you know, and you have Liechtenstein. Liechtenstein it's in Europe. It's a very small state. So yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, from Rust to PyPy, of course, when we talk about supply chain attack, every month PyPy needs to be there. So now there was a threat actor on May 17th that uploaded a malicious package that was called PyMaffa. Mafka, sorry. And if I say Mafka, people immediately think, no, you mean Kafka. Yeah, you know, the Apache Kafka server, which is like a caching server for when you have loads of events to. It's actually Lithuania. Oh, Lithuania or Liechtenstein. Yeah, we don't know. Sorry about that. Looking at the chat. So Kafka is one of those caching servers for high number of transactions and events, like a log collection or network event connection. You use Kafka as like a buffer between your processing of the logs and the collection. So Kafka is very popular, and this client, this PyKafka, has over 4 million downloads. So PyMafka is actually playing. So it's typo squatting the PyKafka module. Luckily, it was found pretty early on, but it had the capability. So on Windows, for example, and on Mac OS, it downloaded the #1 hacking tool, Cobalt Strike Beacon, of course.
Hate it.
Yeah. And apparently they didn't have a license for Linux systems, so what they did there is just remote connect into a certain IP address and piped everything to bash shell, which is like a cheapo version of reverse shelling to the machine. But luckily it was taken fairly early and only 325 downloads. But as you know, as always, be on the lookout for typo squatting in PyPy. And this one is kind of funny. I put my head in front of the updated, maybe. Don't read the updated, but now I already give you the hint. But so NPM never misses. PyPy, NPM, they're always there. Supply chain attack. And now it was, so a JFrog, which is the DevOps company, found NPM packages that were targeting German companies. So when they looked at those packages, they were highly sophisticated, very well built malware, acting as backdoor, allowing attackers to take full control of a system. It consisted of 2 components. So there was a dropper that sends information to a central remote telemetry server, and then it decrypts and executes a JavaScript backdoor, opening a backdoor for whatever hacker. So, and stating what JFrog said in their report. So compared to most malware found in the NPM repository, this payload seems particularly dangerous. A highly sophisticated, obfuscated piece of malware that acts as a backdoor. And those rogue packages, even better, were found on the repository. So there's several packages, and the maintainers went by names that were indicating like to impersonate legitimate German firms like Bertelsmann, Bosch, Still, DB Schenker, very popular German companies. And that was actually the article that came out. But then, I don't know if it was 1 or 2 days later, update. A German penetration testing company named CodeWhite came forward and owned up that they uploaded the malicious packages to the NPM store, adding that it was an attempt to mimic realistic threat actors for dedicated clients. So it was actually
One of
Red
the best
team.
oops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oopsie, they found it.
Is it, can I do that?
So it's kind of funny, in a way. But it's good. It keeps us on our toes, right?
Oh,
Didn't
yeah.
do
I
anything
liked it.
bad, but yeah, it was in the public store, so you can imagine that somebody will trip over it at some point.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be more incidences like that in the future too. With little oopsies.
Good. So how are we doing on time? Look, we're not even at the
5
2
minutes
hours.
over what we normally do.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. So with that, thank you everyone for listening and staying with us for so
And
long.
entertaining us. We're having
Yeah,
great chats now. I like it.
Nexus, Bozer, LikeTech,
I
HypoWeb.
feel sorry for whoever controls that's me, but
I know.
yeah.
It says Daniel/HypoWeb. Yeah.
I am I feel bad for whoever runs this Radware Telegram channel because we're all about to take this over.
Yeah. Off to Telegram now.
Yeah. By the way, we're rating Radware's Telegram channel, so if you're here, pop in and say hi.
Yeah,
If you need my contact
it's some guy
information,
Lewis who owns it. So Lewis, come forward quickly.
Yep, we'll have to go find out where he is. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining.
Thanks, everyone,
See you,
and see you
next month.
Thank you, Daniel. See you. Bye-bye.
Take care.